Okay, this is State of Mind, and I have my Scarface shirt because I have a guest today who, here's the truth. I don't know him very well, but I've talked to him for like 5 seconds, and I feel like I've known him forever. Oh yeah, if you like what you see, just hit the little button right here, this little thing, and subscribe. And I'm very excited to interview this actor from Days of Our Lives, and I'll tell you why I'm excited. Because I was watching his acting scenes on YouTube, and I said, "Oh, this guy's he's the real deal. He's a damn good." I mean, I was like impressed with his acting, but I was more impressed with his pain that I saw in the scenes, and I knew that he had demons, and I didn't know anything about him. Truthfully, I didn't, and I said, "That's because this is going to be fun." And then I read about him today, just about 2 hours ago, and I figured out, oh, okay, this is going to be great. So his name is Billy Flynn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm awesome. I get why you have been as good as you are for so long. I was just as I'm like watching you, and you do your thing. I'm like, fuck, I just you get drawn. Yeah, just your little nuances.
It's all about relaxation.
Yeah.
It's all about, when I was younger as an actor, I wasn't relaxed. I was tight, and I wanted to win 10 Emmys, and I had to I had to be the best, and then you got to let that go, and it's all about being relaxed.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. I remember when I had first started Days, I had this scene where excuse me. I had to cry. It was a crying scene coming up, and I had never. That was in front of other people seemed insane.
Right, right.
I couldn't get there, so I decided to fake it.
Ooh.
It was the most awkward, uncomfortable. Literally, they stopped and they go, "Why don't you go?" I don't. Soaps never will stop and move
No,
on to
no,
another
no,
set.
no.
And luckily, I had just started. They stopped and allowed me to come back, and I still couldn't get there. I thought for sure I was fired, but it was one of those valuable lessons where I was like, if it says cry and I'm not and I can't get there from now on,
You can't do it. No.
I'm just not going to do it. But as I've got, I mean, I cry all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but through my own journey of like self discovery, and as I've gotten a little bit older, it just has gotten. You get to a place where you stop apologizing or caring what other people think about who you are, and it makes it all really easy to
Now,
connect to somebody on an emotional level.
I love that because one of my main problems, and I've been through hell and back, and I think a lot of that is ego and caring what people think. And you got to work on those two things. I mean, you have to work at not having that. And I mean, I'm 58 now, and I'm better at not caring what people think. Where are you at?
I'm a work in progress, but so I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I've been in recovery for 3 years now. I'm approaching 3 years. But through that journey of self-discovery, luckily I found a way to, well, not found a way. I had to, or I was going to die.
Yeah.
Get rid of my ego. Get rid of my fear, find a more spiritual way of living. I mean, there's a program in a way that I have to live now in order to maintain that. But part of that journey, I mean, that kind of stuff that you're talking about for me, caring what other people thought was I wore a million different hats from the moment I can remember as a little kid to survive, because what was in here wasn't safe out there. And, you know, childhood wasn't easy.
What
Being
happened?
a
What happened?
teenager.
Childhood. What went down?
The childhood stuff was pretty, you know, standard. I mean, I was raised by a single mother who was worked her ass off. She was gone quite a bit to no fault of herself, or her own. But you know, so I was raised. Luckily, I had some really strong great grandparents who really were the two people who. Actually, I was just talking to my wife about it the other day. Had I not seen them have a working relationship, I don't know if I ever would have been able to dig my way out. But it's also that same thing, which I'm sure we'll come back to, was also sort of the downfall in which my world sort of crumbled. So,
So your dad left?
my dad's an alcoholic. He was in and out. He and it wasn't until I got sober, I called him on my way. We'll probably jump around a little bit.
No, I don't
but
care.
I had called him on my way to rehab, and I had said to him, "I forgive you. I get what it is now that you were dealing with, and how hard it was for you to walk away from me. But it was a matter of life or death. You need that thing
Yeah.
more important than I was, and I get it because I was willing to walk away from my wife, and my job, and everything else that I loved, to not feel the way I felt."
Wow, I love that.
So what had happened was, you know, and these are things I had grown to know. These defense mechanisms from a very young age, and you know, it's a gene thing, it's a science thing, but I do believe that it's the way that I think and the way that I would prefer to live, had I not had this
It's an illness, right?
yeah. So, you know, had I not, I mean, it's really a mental illness. They say, like,
That's what I just heard too.
excuse me, you know, the addiction part, stopping, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a better person because I stopped drinking. I'm a better person because of the changes I had to make to stay sober.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
right.
So, but, you know, back to the how I worried about what everybody thought. I mean, it was just this thing at probably from the age of 10 or 12. And I say that because until I was 33 and I got sober, that was probably who like the age I was emotionally and spiritually, was probably that kid still. Like which is the pain that you said you saw on the show.
Yeah,
that was a little boy.
Sure.
That felt that way, you know. But yeah.
But also real pain that you weren't pushing.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting
It was
for you
real.
not to be good.
Yep. Yeah.
And you were just good because you didn't push at all.
No, it's those were luckily moments, and some of that, it's hard to really figure out where, but at some point I had started the drinking and the using really took over, even at work. So I can look back and go, oh yeah, that wasn't a good day for me.
So when you're drinking, it's funny because I want to compare how drinking and, like, let's say not because I'm bipolar, and not that, because that's a whole different thing. But like anxiety, is it this? I wonder if it's similar pain that you have to have that drink, and I can't get rid of this anxiety. I don't.
Well, something happened. So I had always had a fairly unhealthy relationship with this stuff. I was never who I wanted to be. I never had the things that I wanted, and I was terrified that people were going to take away the things that I had. And to that, it could have been anything. I wasn't loved enough. I, you know, I wasn't popular enough. I didn't have, you know, you name it. I was, but at the same time, to be as small as I was but yet have the ego that I had.
Right.
is a real mental dilemma. I mean, it really was like being bipolar. I mean, when I got sober, a lot of the people that you know, including myself, go in there and they basically say, you know, you could be identified as, or what, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, diagnosed
Diagnosed, right?
bipolar,
Yeah.
with severe anxiety. Like, all these things were things that they had said to me that you may or may not, you know. On top of that, I'm a Gemini, which doesn't help
Right.
anything.
Right.
But
But the drinking, thank God I never got into I'd be dead for positively. The drinking is self-medicating
yeah,
the anxiety or
yeah,
the bipolar, whatever it is.
fear,
Yeah.
that fear and the anxiety of everything. I mean, and it got really bad. So I talked about my great grandmother, my great grandfather, and my mom is wonderful. My father's wonderful. They both had their own things, and that's kind of, as I've gotten older, you realize that we're all sort of a bunch of people trying to figure out who we really are, and figure out a way to live as happy as we possibly can. Luckily, I have a way to do that now, that works for me. But like, I had always had a pretty unhealthy, from the very first drink. And for me, it was just drink. For me, it was anything. It could have been sex, love, alcohol, gambling, anything
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make me not sit with who I really am and the feelings that I really have, and my inability to understand any of it, because I was never taught to. This stuff, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, it was, he's got
You
ADD,
had public.
pump 'em full of,
Pu-
amphetamines.
what is that? What do you mean, what?
So Ritalin, Adderall, all that stuff. So when you're popping a kid full of speed at that age, because I was anxious, I didn't do well in school.
Couldn't talk in front of people.
Yeah, social anxiety, whatever it was, you know. So I reverted to being the class clown, getting in trouble, fighting, you know, talking back, walking out of class, you know, like some of the schoolwork in high school that I didn't want to do, or that I couldn't do.
Where did that stem from? Having to do all the being a clown and getting in trouble.
Fear, anxiety.
Anxiety. Yeah.
They weren't gonna. I wanted to be liked. I would do anything to be liked.
Oh.
Getting the laugh for a second, which is a drug, right? It hits the dopamine.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Made me not feel who I was
I get you.
in that moment for just a second. So the dopamine hits.
Yeah, yeah,
Teacher
yeah.
comes, grabs you by the ear, rushes you off, and you get that high.
Now, were you popular in school?
Yeah, I was pretty popular. I was really good at sports, until I got expelled and I got thrown into a foster home, because I couldn't stop fighting and all that stuff. So the courts actually stepped in,
Wow.
and took me out, and so, but I've always had little hints of that, which is similar to a mental illness. And I'd go 2 years where things would spiral out of control, and I'd end up on bottom, and then I'd go, I got to figure out a way to get back. So I'd get my life together.
Yeah.
I ended up going to college. I was dean's list.
No, are you
Yeah,
serious?
everything. I graduated with honors. Makes no sense. And then halfway through, it becomes easy. I start drinking and partying
But
again.
what was the trigger?
Don't know. I don't know yet.
You're gonna figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was, for whatever it is, whether it's something at childhood that I don't remember yet. Actually, that's not true. I do know a bit of what it was. So my mother was a single mother, and like a lot of people, she was trying to find somebody to love her and that she could love. You know, I got two half brothers, so she had remarried twice after my father. In each of those cases, I sort of, you know, as being a little bit older, became, I wasn't the center of attention. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
So the way that I got recognized or noticed or loved or was generally to, I would get in trouble. She would get mad at me. Then I'd play the victim.
Ah.
And then I'd work my way back into her good graces. And it was a cycle. But that cycle informed who I would become as an adult, which I ended up doing with all my relationships, my wife, work. You know, I would implant, not knowing who I was, I would implant people with the power over me, like a boss wouldn't be a boss, he'd be a father figure. So I needed to make him proud. And then if I didn't do what I did, it would be this thing where I would constantly be in a cycle, no matter who it was. I mean, I made my girlfriend, who's now my wife, you know, she would be my mother, my teacher, my everything.
Yeah.
Right? I needed to make her proud, and then she'd get mad at me because once I would have something, it was no longer appealing to me. So I would throw it away, and then once they didn't want me anymore, I would do everything I could to get it back. That's the cycle that I lived.
That is a cycle.
Until
Damn.
until I found a new way to live, which is I got sober and started figuring out who I was and dealing with some of these things. But the straw that broke the camel back was I had an unhealthy relationship. I had this cycle. It was just every 4 to 5 years I would get a little bit better, and then I would spend the next 2 years kind of going downhill. I lost my great grandmother, who was like a soulmate other than my wife. In that, something triggered in my mental state when I lost her. Because I would never have identified as somebody who was an alcoholic or an addict or anything. But something happened with her that reverted me back to 12-year-old Billy, where I didn't feel safe. I had nobody that loved me. I just pushed everything away. So I started doing that with my wife. That's when I started using on a daily basis, more and more and more, to not be who I was, until I couldn't come back from it.
Never
I
drugs.
could no longer
How
come
about
back from
drugs?
it.
Right?
Yeah, drugs.
Oh,
All of it.
drugs too?
All of it. My man here. That was my guy.
Oh,
All of it.
maybe I wore the shirt for a reason.
Maybe you had an instinct. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But anything that didn't make me feel, I had things that I enjoyed more than others, but stuff that didn't make me feel the way I felt, and so, which led to some of that work. Like basically, so I got sober 8/8/18.
Okay.
2 years prior to that, anything that I had probably been on the show was not very good. But there was a period in which some stuff happened, and this is the problem. This is the tricky thing with the ag. You become sort of addicted to that feeling too, because I remember there was a scene when that was my first Emmy reel, or the first time I got nominated, where my wife had passed away, and I'm holding this thing and I'm throwing furniture around and I'm breaking down. And in that scene, I started using real pain. That was around that time was the first time I started using real pain to be my outlet for
Were
my
you
for
off
my
or
art.
on stuff?
I was off stuff then.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I wasn't not drinking, but I hadn't entered sort
I
of the
get it.
full blown
Yeah.
daily use. I mean, maybe weekends or I'd
Yeah.
party, whatever. But I found a way how to use my real pain in my work, which could have also been sort of the beginning to the end of me figuring out that I had more stuff that I needed to fix in my life. But so that was probably 2014.
Okay.
2016, my great grandmother passes away.
Okay.
I revert back to this old thing. I no longer have the person who was in a world that I knew made the world safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I become this kid again, and then I would spend the next 2 years from 2016 to 2018 essentially tearing my life apart, not wanting to live, not knowing how to grieve.
When you say not wanting to live, because that's been a topic I had a state of mind on today with Lily, this friend of mine, and she's been through hell, and one like 6 months is just unreal. And I went through the same thing like 8-9 months ago, where you just don't, it's pain, right? Do you say to yourself, I can't go on with this pain anymore? Is that what happens with you, or is that just my thing?
It's tough with me because it's a lot of that, yes.
Okay.
But I'm also then, even now, I just do better at managing it. I'm incredibly selfish.
I am too, man.
And there were times I didn't want to live. Certainly how I was treating myself, I didn't want to live. I mean, there were times when I would drink and use to a place where I thought I was going to die, quite literally in the moment.
Oh, because
and I would keep going. Where it's sort of, you would think it would have been the bottom, but it wasn't quite the bottom. I took as much as I could. And when I woke up, I was shocked. Because I did it not imagining I'd wake up.
Wow.
So, you know, I don't know if don't think I wanted to die. I surely didn't want to live. So somewhere in the middle, purgatory.
Yeah, you know, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
He was on the show. And he said to me, I wanted to die. I just didn't want to, I didn't want to kill myself. I just wanted to die. If I died, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to kill myself. And I think that other level where I've been a couple times is where you start thinking of maybe how to do it. That's the
Yeah.
I don't want to say shit, but that's the shit.
Yeah.
That it's bad.
I don't know if I ever got quite there. I tempted it. I mean, in other ways, in the end, I remember I would be very intoxicated, and I would see police, and I would drive towards them.
Damn.
In hopes, I
Yeah.
remember one night I was with a buddy, and there was a cop this way, and I was loaded. And my buddy's like, dude, take a right, in complete fear. But where I would get in that level was how I wanted to feel all the time, right? I was at peace. I said, nah, man, we're going that way. I took a left.
That made you feel at peace?
But
when you're so messed up that you want to take the
at
left?
that time, I took a left, and I waved at him on the way by.
And you felt like, was it ego? That's ego, right?
Oh, yeah. Ego. But also I didn't care. Ego, but also looking back, I think there was something inside of me that wanted him to stop me. I was daring everybody to stop me. And then ultimately my life started to fall apart. I lost the job. I had lost the wife for the time being, and I woke up. I remember my last. Usually, people who get sober or not get sober, probably people who have a mental illness and decide they want to live differently, have a moment of clarity where they go, I gotta fix this, or I'm gonna kill myself. I had that moment. And I remember where I was when I had it. I remember what I was doing, and I said, I'm not going to live like this anymore. And that was the last time I ever used. And since then has been this journey, that is, when they tell you, you can stay for the miracle type stuff, it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To go through, I woke up with anxiety, fear, ego, resentment every day from the moment I was born, probably. But I wake up now with a pretty clear head. Not all days. There's days in that process that I'm able to say to my wife, I'm having one of those days today, and I handle it in the spiritual ways that I can handle it to try to get out of that, or I talk to somebody.
Do you meditate?
Meditate. I tell people I do this.
Yeah.
On the regular with anybody who will listen, and I listen to other people who feel the same way.
Yes.
And I pray, to my God.
Yeah.
As I understand him, and if I do those things on a daily basis, it's work.
It's work.
Living healthy, living with a healthy mind, not wanting to kill yourself. It's hard work. But when I do those things, there's things that I'm awarded now. I've been given this huge life now, and I'm my wife and I, we burned our relationship to the ground, and we've been able to build it back stronger than ever. She's my best friend, my partner. I know what that is now. I have the opportunity to be graceful under situations where I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to be calm. I don't want to be polite. I don't want to lead with love and compassion. But I do.
But you do, yeah.
Which is a miracle. If I have a resentment, I'm able to deal with it. I have serenity.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but
yeah, no.
I mean, that's something that somebody like I shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wasn't this life I don't think was supposed to be in the cards for me, and I'm sort of living on borrowed time, which makes me
But life,
really enjoy it.
life.
This is what everybody should
Yes.
have.
You. It's what I say because you know, with everything I've been through, life will reward you if you at least try to figure it out. At least if you're figuring it out, I'm figuring it out, and now we're being rewarded by life or God. I believe God, because of what we've been through, and now you and me both together here on this, people will watch, and somebody who's on the verge of going left instead of right may go right just because of this.
That's what, I mean. That's why I reached out to you, man. And I was like, I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
It could save somebody's life. And I think things are changing because even in the program that I'm in, it's not meant to be talked about, right? And I agree to that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But there's other parts where, for me, I'm not gonna hide, because had I known that there were this many people that felt and thought the way that I did, who knows? I think we all get here when we all get to the place we're supposed to, get to when we get there. There's that saying, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I believe in that.
Yeah.
But it's planting a seed in somebody's mind, which is what this is.
Yes.
Somebody who can't put down the bottle or the drug, or who's having an episode of one thing or another, and they hear that and they go, "No, that's me. That's the way I think."
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to talk to somebody. Not right now, but I'm going to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because I there was years where I would say, I need help. I'm gonna die, or I'm gonna lose. My wife's gonna leave me, or I'm gonna lose my job. And I didn't stop. I kept doing what I was doing. I have a good friend of mine who got sober. He's 6 months. He has 6 months more than I do. And my father was an alcoholic, too. So I had a resentment because he wasn't able to keep his sobriety. So there was a part of me that, when you hear most of your life, I think my mom had a big fear around that, because I think she was hurt by my father.
Yeah.
She was afraid that I would become like him. So when there's that kind of fear that's instilled, and it transferred to me as a kid who's impressionable, and he's picking up things that he learns, that like, I'm going to be like my father. So I had a real resentment towards that. So I didn't want, and also I thought that this was what kids do, and I wasn't a kid anymore. It's kind of cool when you're 22 and you're at life of the party at the bar. When you're 32 and you're the last one at the bar, begging the bartender for one more shot, it's not as sexy as it was.
And I it's true when you say you thought everybody did it or whatever. I there's something that I went through that I won't talk about, but I thought that everybody went through that. Mm-hmm. It was normal until I told my best friend at the time, and he looked at me like, "What?"
Yeah.
He says, "Dude, go to a therapist now." And a lot of times drinking and everything, it is normal when we're young.
Yeah.
I drank like a mother, man. I used to drink, get in fights with, go out with girls and all that kind of stuff. It's in my book. And to me, that was just the way it is. Mm-hmm. But I think if you have that gene, like, you could be in trouble.
You're not going to be able to pull. At some point, you're not going to be able to pull yourself back. I think like what's going on with the last year, you've seen people develop these problems because the gene's there. Whether or not it's triggered, can depend on a million different things.
Yes.
A life event for me, I think, which was losing my great grandmother really,
Yeah,
really set
yeah.
up. But it can be other things. You know, the fighting, the drinking. I mean, and this is where I'm at. I think why I love that I can have so much love and compassion, because if you're gonna be an asshole to me,
Right.
I'm gonna understand that there's something that's going on that has nothing to do with me. Now
Yeah.
that's a luxury that I have in where I'm at in life now, to be able to live, to go like, oh man, that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, nah.
That's not my stuff. I used to absorb everyone's energy I was around.
I know, but that's,
I don't have to live like that anymore. I get to be like, oh man, is there anything that I can help you with?
yeah.
Okay. If there's not, like my wife, like for example, like when I used, you know, we talked about how like worried about what other people thought. If somebody could have just looked at me, and it could have meant nothing, but I would make up a million different things of what that was. Oh, he hates me. I'm gonna get fired. Oh, my wife's mad at me. What did I do? So I would, what's the matter? Yeah, nothing. And I think one of our blessings are our curse, which is what we do in this business, is I'm very good at reading energy. So I know that something's up.
I know.
You know, but it might not have nothing to do with me. More than likely it doesn't, until I make it about me, because I go, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is it about me? Is it about me? Until like, which is kind of the cycle within the cycle within the cycle.
Yes.
I'll find a way to become the problem or the victim in
Yeah.
every scenario.
But that's you're working on it, and
Yeah.
that's why you're less worried about what people think, because you're making this now not about you, but about what could be wrong with them.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of figuring it out. And as far as ego, I wanted to tell you, look, I still have and I'm trying to chop it down.
Yeah, we all are. We all.
But I'll never forget, because I was bad like 10 years or 8 years ago. And somebody's going, you're still bad now. But I was with my agent. But because I'm honest, so I'm going to be honest. So he says, I said, you know, I got to work on my ego, man. He goes, you don't have a big ego. I said, no, you don't know. Yeah, I do. He goes, no, why do you say that? I said, because there's nothing wrong with being king, but there is something wrong with not wanting anybody else to be king. That's ego, man.
Yeah, man.
And I've tried, bro. I'm working on it. I've gotten much, much better. Because that ego, but also what's happening, and this is on a whole different subject, but who cares? Like, I feel like I've lost a bit of, not in this, I'm into this, but like in acting, I feel like I've lost a bit of that eye of the tiger.
I disagree. I think it's just gotten easier. I think people
yeah, well, okay.
I think people like you and me like things to be hard. It makes us feel like we're accomplishing something.
Yeah.
I found this really great.
That's true.
Where like, I think what changes is you're of service to other people and what they're going through. Because when we're going through, I remember that you feel the tears coming. You're like, yeah, baby, we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then after the scene is like, whoo, it's a high.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have the highs and lows anymore, but I can be.
That's the same with me.
But I can be, but I still get there emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. I'm listening. Like, it's easier for me now.
Yeah.
I don't have to work so hard. Like, you know, it's a really amazing thing to sit there and be in a scene and actually be listening to the person and be of service and understand that, like, you know, because in that's a scary place to be as an artist, I think.
No, sure.
To be able to go anyway, you know, like, because the thing is, I'm surprised more now. I don't have as many of the highs and lows, but I'm surprised more now. Where at the end of the scene, I go, wow, I didn't expect it to go like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the viewer would disagree with you. Like me.
Yeah, I get that. I just think I'm like almost double your age, so it's I've been through it, and the desire is kind of not what it was. When I was in my 20s and 30s, bro, I was an animal. I mean,
well, how much of that do you think was proving yourself? And
yes,
what more do you have to prove?
Yes, that's it. This dude's very smart. I have to say, Billy is very smart. Yeah, a lot of that is because I figured that out today. Actually, it's funny we're talking about it. That maybe because I'm done proving,
Yeah.
and that goes with ego.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that ego that I used to have of having to prove, and so that thing inside me was, oh man, I can't wait to. Now I'm kind of not. I'm sure it'll come, but again or whatever, or
Yeah.
maybe it won't.
It'll come and go forever.
Yeah, I
You know,
guess.
the difference is now, like, dude, I still got ego. Like my character on the show was a very big character for a long time, and to the point where I'm sure others were like, this is supposed to be an ensemble,
Yeah, I know.
right?
I went through. Yeah,
And now I'm part of the ensemble.
yeah.
And I have to fight with that every day. There's times when I don't have as many episodes as I want, or
Yeah.
whatever that is. But I'm using the show now. But it could be anything. I see a buddy who buys a bigger house, and I want what he's got.
I get you.
But for a second,
Yeah, that's the difference.
I used to spend
the whole-
days or
yes.
weeks
That's the difference.
pissed off about it.
That's the
And
difference.
now I get to go. So, I see what you're doing. You're afraid that you're never going to get that, or you're afraid that you don't deserve that, or he's better than you, and that's
Right,
why he's got
right.
it. No, man, he's living his life. You're living yours. The more I can get out of myself
Yeah, I know.
and remind myself to do it, which is like I said, like at the beginning before we went on, I was kind of telling you I have this 10 to 12-year-old version of me that's in there all the time. That's the person who doesn't feel safe or secure, or and there's some other things that happen around that time that we won't get into now, but it's that part. I'm pretty somebody said to me once, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell them, just tell somebody what happened to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And luckily we get to do that now. But I have this person now that Billy, I did this in Rio as part of my therapy. I sat across from a chair like this, only the chair was empty. And I had to talk to this version of me. And I cried for days.
Wow, that's cool.
Until finally at the end I said, I go, I'm here and I'm going to take care of you. I got this now.
Yeah.
You get to relax.
That's cool.
You can stop fighting. And like,
That's cool. Yeah.
Well,
it's great, man. I'm gonna wrap it up, but
I could do another couple hours.
all right. I just want to say on State of Mind today was a very insightful. He should have interviewed me, to be honest.
I want to.
It was great. Yeah. It was that kind of. Me and Billy Flynn are very much alike, and who'd have known? But I appreciate having you on.
Yeah.
And listening to you it made me kind of in awe a little bit of just the same thing you said about me is that you have been through so much and you got out of it, man. You're here and you're talking and you love your wife, and it's beautiful, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.